We're joined now by Democratic strategist Spencer Critchley in Monterey, California. Spencer, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us. This
My
issue
pleasure.
in the United States, it's not just a legal one, it's a social one and very much a political issue as well. If Roe versus Wade is overturned, how's it going to impact those midterm elections in November and the campaigning that comes ahead of it?
It's an excellent question. I think it will be one of the central issues, of course. And this gets to the heart, really, of the struggle the Democratic Party has to win majorities, even though majorities of the American public support Democratic policies. I get into a lot of the cultural background in this in my book, Patriots of Two Nations. It really goes back to the founding of the country. But in general, the Democrats are right on policy for typically 2/3 to up to 3/4 of Americans on many major policies. And abortion is one of them. And yet they don't necessarily vote for Democrats. And I think it gets to that cultural issue. There are many other issues. We could get into gerrymandering and all sorts of other things that skew our elections. But as a campaigning entity, the Democrats have trouble connecting with people at the level of values and emotions, and they continue to argue these issues legalistically and rationalistically. And I think they lose elections they should otherwise win by doing that. And that's, as a Democrat, that's my major concern going into November.
Okay, so that's something they're definitely going to have to look at. But this draft Supreme Court ruling was leaked, which in itself is a huge breach. But what does it also tell us about the significance of this ruling, the politics at stake, and the court's independence?
It's another step in the breakdown of democratic institutions, unfortunately. I would like to note that Senator McConnell's speculation about who's at fault was deeply irresponsible and more evidence of the breakdown of institutions for which he himself is responsible, much as he likes to cast himself as an institutionalist with the way he has engineered seats on the Supreme Court in recent years. But this is a problem that afflicts both the right and the left. The right has for decades been leveraging abortion and gun rights and other very highly charged cultural issues to essentially try to work themselves into a position of minority rule because they cannot win popular majorities. They failed to do that in by far most of the recent presidential elections, going back many cycles now. On the left also tries to use the courts essentially to accomplish legislative results. And I think on both sides, it's an indication of people going around the institutions we already have that, are far from perfect, but made us the most successful democracy in history until recently.
Well, President Biden is obviously concerned about the political knock-on effects, but well as the social and legal ones. What could some of those effects be when it comes to other rights in the United States if this ruling is overturned?
I think he's exactly right. This is an incredibly activist, aggressive decision, I would say, by the Supreme Court. People of good faith can certainly disagree about interpretations of the Constitution and disagree about this issue in particular, certainly. But several of these justices stated point blank, essentially, during their confirmation hearings in public and in private meetings with senators, that they considered Roe versus Wade to be settled law, settled precedent, and then have come out of the gate as soon as they have a majority and completely reversed themselves. So I think that's an excellent point that President Biden raises. The abortion rights issue is not just abortion rights for women. The privacy right goes back to Aristotle. It's the distinction between the private sphere and the public sphere. And who knows what sorts of things might be decided on. Essentially, really, what comes down to a theocratic justification, in my view, here. And people could start, as he suggested, ruling on gay rights and all kinds of other rights that we've come to take for granted in recent years, and I think to the betterment of the country.
Spencer Critchley, really good to get your take on this. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.